Alright, let's get the formalities out of the way, shall we? My name's Ronnie Pickering, I'm from East London, and I've been a professional villain since I was just a nipper. You name it, I've nicked it. I've been taking a gander at this thief simulator game, and I'm going to go through it with you, and I'm going to tell you what's kosher, and what's a load of old cobblers. So, let's have a butcher's. Right away I can see it's set in bleeding America. Well, that's the first black mark against it. Bloody mental out there, innit? Everyone's running around with shooters, including the old Bill. Nah, can't be doing with that, but until they get around with making the version set in Basildon, we'll have to lump it. Now, I don't know how the Yanks do it, but where I'm from, no one's going around with a crowbar down the trousers. You're asking to get nicked. There's a little thing called going equipped. If the old Bill pull you with a crowbar under your jacket and you ain't got a bloody good excuse, they'll have you. If you need to break a window, put a bloody brick through it. Oh, so apparently it takes level 1 agility to chuck a brick. Now, I've known a lot of geezers with all the agility of a bull on a frozen lake, and not one of them couldn't lob a brick through a window. Look at the state of this place. It's a right shithole. I wouldn't burgle this gaff if they left the front door open. But old what's-his face on the blower says we got to, so here we go. I'll tell you this. If I ever find myself so hard up I'm forced to rob saucepans and toasters, I'd walk into the closest nick and hand myself in. I'd rather be banged up. Now, I've known a lot of blokes in the burglary game over the years, and most of them couldn't even pick their own nose, let alone a lock. Blimey, this motor's a right heap. Reminds me of a knackered old Rover I bought once off Swiss Tony down in Streatham. Don't stand out though, the old Bill wouldn't give it a second look, so that's the only thing it's got going for it. What's this? There's a paying job to break someone's carsey. You're having a giraffe. What kind of nutter pays a thug to break into a gaff and smash the bog? Actually, don't answer that. I'll gladly take the money though. I've been in more pawn shops than you've had hot dinners, and every one of them's had at least one barely strummed guitar in the window, so that's pretty bang on. The number of times we're going back to the same neighbourhood, robbing the same houses, is getting a bit ridiculous if I'm honest. I mean, you've got to give it a couple of months at least, just to give the insurance enough time to pay out and the owners enough time to replace everything you've nicked. If these lot were getting turned over at the rate we're doing them, they'd have formed a neighbourhood watch by now. Christ, they'd have formed a private militia and be shooting strangers on sight. Now this is taking the piss. I know the plod aren't the sharpest tools in the box, but to get away with hiding in the nearest skip after you've just been rumbled, they'd have to be complete bloody morons. Art theft was never my game. Far too risky. Impossible to sell on the open market. You pretty much have to steal it to order, have a fence with a buyer lined up. It'll attract a lot of attention from the plod and the press. The papers might say the painting's worth 10 or 20 million quid, but you'll be lucky to ever see a tiny fraction of that. Too much risk for too little reward. On the other hand, jewellery's always been a favourite of mine. Easy to carry, easy to sell, and once you've broken it down, almost untraceable. They got that spot on. Now, this is a right load of old bollocks. No one can open a safe by touch or sound. That's pure Hollywood. To open most home safes, 9 times out of 10, you don't need anything more than a bloody great drill. Bank safes? That's a different story. Best way to open one of them is to put a sawn off to the manager's bollocks. He'll soon get the message. Alright lads, I reckon I've seen enough to get the gist. There's a couple of realistic bits, but most of it's a right barrel of monkeys. If you carried on like the bloke in this game, you'd have your collar felt in no time. The only thing you'd be simulating is a stay at Her Majesty's pleasure. So that's your lot. I'm off down the Nag's Head for a pint, and remember boys and girls, crime don't pay.